We are going to take a look at test-taking tips and strategies for constructed response items. Constructed response items is just a fancy name for essay questions. If you are taking the teacher exam, you will have one constructed response item. If you are taking a principal exam, you will have two constructed response items. If you're taking a superintendent's exam, you will have 4 constructed response items. Your constructed response items will be based on a set of data that is provided to you before you actually start reading. So study your data, look at it, and then start reading your constructed response item. One thing that I tell students to do is to read the constructed response item before you ever start the multiple choice part of the test, and here's why. Within the multiple choice items, there will be key education terms that are being used. Jot those down, and you can use those as you start writing and planning your constructed response your essay question, as you start addressing the essay questions. There won't be a disconnect between the actual constructed response and the multiple choice. It's all education related. So that's just a tip that I try to share with my students. Once again, read your constructed response item first. Don't answer it. Just get in your head what is asking you, and then go back to your multiple choice. And then that may trigger, I need to use this vocabulary within my response where it is appropriate. There is a criteria that is set up for the constructed response items. First of all, look at the purpose. Extent to which the response achieves the purpose of the assignment. Subject matter knowledge. Accuracy and appropriateness in the application of subject matter knowledge. Support. Quality and relevance of supporting details, and rationale, the soundness of the argument and degree that you are making, and that will also come out in the understanding of your subject matter. Important. Let me say this again before starting the selected response multiple choice portion of the test. Read the constructed response scenario first. The selected response will be using key terms that you can incorporate into your writing. This will help you make connections and use professional language that the test developers have utilized as they have developed the test. There is a scoring scale that is unique to the constructed response items. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. U, which is unscorable, and B, which it means there is no response. 4 is the best. It's the rubric, and it is very, very clear that you have a thorough knowledge and understanding of the subject matter. 3, the response reflects a general knowledge of the subject matter. 2 reflects a partial knowledge of the subject matter. 1 reflects little knowledge of the subject factor. Let's stop right here and let me tell you how these are scored. They are actually read by 2. There are 3 examiners. There are 2 examiners, and I'll just give you an example. If examiner 1 gives you a 3 and examiner 2 assigns a 4, there's a discrepancy in your actual score. It then goes to a chief examiner, and the chief examiner assigns a score. What the chief examiner assigns as the score stands. The chief examiner does not know what examiners 1 and 2 have given. The chief examiner then assigns a score. I think that's important for you to know, that there are multiple chances as you are looking at your constructed response. That's a frustration for some, but I want you to understand there is a process in place that is as fair as it can be. The elementary education assessment, as we've talked about, just has 1 constructed response item. Principals has 2, so that's important for you to know as you prepare. There are study materials on the CEOE website that you need to download, and those will help you. Here's some other tips and strategies for constructive response. Read assignments carefully before you begin to write. Plan, write, review, and edit. And let's talk about a way that is very, very helpful as we are planning. I like to show students to use a Venn diagram. You all have probably used Venn diagrams with your classes before, but it's an easy way to set up an outline for the constructive response. Within the constructive response, there is a statement of a problem. Well, what do they want you to do? What do they want you to figure out? So, in the middle of your Venn diagram, state the problem. Within your constructed response, it will ask you to use the data and make application. It may ask you to come up with 2 strategies on how to solve this problem. So as your Venn diagram grows, start your strategies. 2 strategies. 3 applications. And so on. If you will use this to actually set up your answer to the constructive response, you will be stating back the statement of the problem as you start your essay, and then you will be incorporating your strategies, your applications. But one of the things I want to make sure that I caution you about is if the constructive response asks you for 2 strategies, make sure that you write about 2. And I'm going to tell you how to check that in just a moment. These are some key education terms that we are using. They're very, very popular in education today. I'm not going to read that to you, but you all are involved in PLCs, professional learning communities, RTI, response to intervention. Let me caution you about something when you're using acronyms. It's okay to use acronyms after you have actually said response to intervention, put in parentheses RTI. But the reader wants to know that you know what that acronym stands for, so that's very, very important. So once you are starting to write, then you need to go back to your Venn diagram. As you go back to your Venn diagram, have I stated the problem? Have I started back answering how I'm going to help solve that problem? As I'm helping solve that problem, did I use 2 strategies? Yes, I did. I used RTI and I used attendance to help that student. There's my 2 strategies. Check. I've got it. Did I use 3 applications? Yes, I applied 3 different ways that I can help that student or help that school be successful. Check. And so on. You are going to complete your Venn diagram with every single thing that the constructive response is asking you to do. Another way to make sure that you are doing what the constructive response asks you to do is look at your verbs. Once again, are they asking you to apply? Are they asking you to describe? Are they asking you to analyze? There will be verbs that are used in your constructive response. And when you go back and check everything off, then you know that you have got a good essay that is relevant and also is appropriate for what the question is asking. Now that we have discussed ways to actually address our constructed response items, let's talk about some concerns that have been reported by those that score the constructed response. What they have found is that the examinees, or the test taker like you, has failed to read the assignment carefully and critically. If you use this tip or this strategy, this will help you read for critical. What is it asking you to do? If you're not comfortable using the Venn diagram and you're comfortable using an outline, use an outline, but use something to help yourself get organized in the beginning. Sometimes it appears that the examinees are confused. They're not sure what they're being asked to do. That's why you've got to make sure that you pay attention to the verbs. Are they asking you to analyze? Are they asking you to apply? Are they asking you to describe? Are they asking you to explain? These verbs are very, very important in that prompt. On your sheet of paper that you have written down key educational terms, write down the verbs. Write them down here as well. And that way you've doubled your self-insurance that you're actually understanding what they are asking you to answer. Sometimes scorers have said that we just get a person off the street perspective. You are not a person off the street. You are the expert. You are taking a licensure exam. So, therefore, they expect you to demonstrate the professional knowledge that you have. Use relevant examples. Relevant examples such as RTI, PLCs. Let me caution you there that you should always spell out the names of, spell out what an acronym stands for first. Professional learning community, response to intervention, and then you may use the acronym after that. Be careful about bullet points. You can use bullet points to address a strategy or address an application, but don't just state it back as a bullet point. Use it as a bullet point, and in your next paragraph start talking about it, because bullet points do not demonstrate that you have thorough understanding of what they are asking you to do. If you are going to cite any kinds of examples or use any kinds of professional references or theories, make sure that they are correct. If you are unsure, don't use that. Rationales should be specific, not broad. You can state back your statement of the problem, and then you can start broad and narrow down. Narrow down is how you're going to solve this. And last but not least, one of the things that scorers report that students actually, or that examinees actually do, is they fail to explain why a strategy that they've chosen would be effective. So no matter what strategy you have chosen to solve the problem, use response to intervention might be one. Explain why that would be effective. How attendance, helping a child be in school every day, how does that affect a student's achievement? Make sure that you are very clear about that. So, as we wrap up modules 1, 2, and 3, remember we talked about the test overview. It just gives you a little bit of information about how the test is set up, why it is set up the way that it is. It changes when standards change. In Module 1, we talked about the test overview. Module 2, we talked about the selected response tips and strategies, the multiple choice items, better known as multiple choice items. And then Module 3 was the constructed response item, better known as essay. Please do not hesitate to call or email me with any questions about any of the material that is presented in this test-taking tips and strategies. And good luck on the test. You're the expert, and remember, you've got this.